Yes, I'm an Elrahi. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good. So, how long have you been an actor for, and what's been your story?
Uh, yeah, I've been an actor since 1994,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been a while. Um, I also went to uni and studied a science degree,
Mm-hmm.
majored in anatomy and physiology, and in between those periods, I decided I wanted to work as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down to the Actor Centre and did which at the time was in Devonshire Street in Surrey
Mm-hmm.
Hills, and that's where I sort of got my degree in acting. Yeah, yeah.
Were you in the movie The Combination with George Basher?
I was in his second film.
Yeah, I watched the first
Yeah,
one. That was a good film to watch.
yeah. The first one was very good. I really enjoyed that film. Um, I always told George and David that film kind of was um, a landmark breakthrough for the industry in regards to those types of stories being told,
Mm-hmm.
because those kind of migrant first generation, ethnic Australians, the stories are very limited. I mean, also, Indigenous Australians' stories are limited, but now they're starting to become quite quite a lot of them now are getting made, which is really good to see. But
Yeah.
still, our representation as first generation, migrants is still underrepresented in Australia, I believe. Still, yeah.
No, I think the Australian film industry's got a lot of talent, Simon. I
Oh, it's
really
got
like it.
so much talent. It's all over the place.
So, were you working as a chiropractor as well?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So what happened? I got my um, I finished my courses in acting, and I got an agent, and the jobs that I was doing were were they were few and far between. They weren't casting people like me. They were just saying, I've got nothing for you.
Mm.
And back in the 90s, it was still very dominant Anglo kind of screen presence that was there, and theatre presence as well. So I was just getting roles that were, tokenistic and stereotypical. And then I just thought, I don't want to do this. So I ended, because I wasn't going to be able to earn an income, raise a family and buy a house and all those things I wanted to do as well. So I thought I had this degree in chiropractic, in science, in anatomy and physiology. So I went to Macquarie, and I just did the 2 years masters in chiropractic and became a chiropractor after that.
Mm-hmm.
So from about 1994 to 2000, I quit I worked just on and off in the industry, but then I quit it completely. And I worked as a chiropractor full time for 10 years then. And it's only after 2011-12 that I came back into the industry and started to work as an actor again. Interestingly, all the casting directors that were there in the 90s that I was going to for auditions, when I came back in 2011 and 12, they all seemed to have remembered me and started getting me back in, which was really good to see. Yeah.
What do you prefer better, being a chiropractor or an actor, Simon?
I don't mind. Look, my passion was in storytelling and writing and acting, and that was where I really wanted to go. But I did feel that I loved the human body and how it worked and functioned, and wanted to help people, get better on a natural healing level. So chiropractic made sense to me, because it was a kind of drug-free treatment, which cured a lot of people's with neck pain, back pain, and all those kinds of things. So To say now, I enjoy both of them, but I prefer more working in the arts. Yeah.
I hear that there's a lot of doctors and medical professionals not happy with chiropractors. Did you come across that a lot?
Oh yeah, there's a big stigma there with chiropractors. That all stemmed back historically, back in the 1800s, when the founder of chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, and his brother and his son BJ were the founding fathers of chiropractic in 1895. And what they saw was that they looked at disease as a cause rather than a symptom. And so they wanted to see where they could intervene in human people's bodies, in a causative effect. So they looked at the spine, and the spine obviously is your brain and your nervous system, your brain and the nervous system coming down through the spinal column and then out into the body, which is your nerves. And they found that there's this guy who was deaf. He had a segment of bone that was out in his neck. So D.D. Palmer and back in then started to push on this bone and push it back into place. Over a period of time, his hearing started to come back. And he noticed that, the physical part of his body was the one that's causing him to be deaf. So he called it chiro, which means in Greek or Latin, I think, practic, done with hands. So chiropractic means done with hands. So they were getting a lot of patients from everywhere, around their area. And the doctors at the time, the GPs, felt threatened. And so they thought, all these patients are going to this natural hearing person because they don't want the medicine, drug therapy. They wanted actually just this chiropractic type therapy because it was working for them. And he'd have people lining up on the street, and so the medical profession took them to court and blacklisted them being quacks and all this sort of thing. And it wasn't only until recently that they passed through law that they couldn't do that, and that chiropractors were trained the same amount of medical training that doctors get, and they can't say anything that's bad against them. But still, till today, the medical profession has not a great saying with chiropractors, but most do, agree with them and like what they do and refer them to them. But chiropractors can just see anybody off the street. You don't need a referral because they're primary health contact practitioners. So, that's how it all started. And it's all really just about, power and, who gets the main draw in from the population of patients to see them with types of diseases. Yeah.
It's like Simon, COVID-19's become a business now.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've got a bit of flack going online and writing certain things that I believe in about what COVID is. But to me, I just think, there are novel drugs out there that have been well researched, like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, azithromycin, which is an antibiotic, then there's doxycycline and minocycline. These are all novel antivirals and antibacterials. With the end stage of COVID causes upper respiratory tract infections and cardiovascular issues. Well, these drugs actually block pathways that prevent it from going to that inflammatory stage and actually can prevent you from getting really sick and going to hospital. But a lot of that information is suppressed and thought of as, again, like we're all quacks and idiots. We don't know what we're talking about. But, people don't understand that we're very trained in science, biochemistry, anatomy, physiology, all those things that are doctors that are trained in. There are all the people who are studying medical science or biomedical science or doing PhDs in a certain thing or are professors in infectious diseases. They don't necessarily have to be a GP or a doctor or anything. They still understand what science is and now how things interact. And so when you look at the mRNA vaccine and the other vaccines that they're pushing, Now, yeah, that can prevent you from going into hospital, sure, and other things. But they don't. They're still experimental. These vaccines. They're not. There's still no real-time studies to show what's going to happen in the long term, meaning in the 2 to 3 years to 4 years after. Because when you inject someone with an mRNA vaccine, it develops a spike protein, and that spike protein travels in the blood, goes and digs into your vascular system or goes into your brain, anywhere into your body, right? That spike protein then has to mount, the immune system mounts an attack to try and get rid of it. And if it's sitting there and it can't get rid of it, then there's this constant inflammation the immune system is producing, which can cause autoimmune conditions, cancers, cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attack, so many things. And then they'll say later, oh, he just died of a heart attack. He died of cancer. He didn't die of the vaccine. You know what I mean? In the short term, yeah, you might not get anything happening to you, but there are acute signs in the short term where you get blood clots and, cardiovascular issues and vascular issues, but, they're not reported very well. So, I mean, I'm all for vaccination. To me, vaccination makes sense, but you got to understand what's in it, how does it work, how does it react to the body, what are the long-term effects, what are the side effects. All those things have to be collated, and then you have to decide. Whereas ivermectin has been a drug since the 1970s, and it's been tried and tested, and there's little or no side effects at all, and all you need to do is dose it a certain way, reduces the viral load, reduces the inflammatory cascade that happens with COVID when you go into hospital and die and all that. And then, your body develops an antibody, and then you're immune. You don't have to ever get it again. But right now, people are vaccinated and they're still getting the virus. What does that say? It's not causing immunity. It's only suggesting immunity, meaning, the messenger RNA is it's a gene therapy. It's not actually pushing immune bodies in your body to say, well, I'm immune.
Yeah, I feel I'm sick of COVID-19, Simon. I wish this thing could just go away.
Oh, everybody is. Everybody's over it. And then it's divided so many people now. It's not funny. It's it's divided people into the vaxxers and the non-vaxxers, and this stupidity. It's got nothing to do with vaxxing and non-vaxxing. It's got to do with common sense and science. And, big business, who's profiting from it, who's getting the billions of dollars, why are the lockdowns here? And all this is, dividing people because of people who are not looking at the science. Like we're talking about politicians who are giving us advice here. They're taking it from the health advice from the people they work for. You know what I mean? Yeah. It starts off with pharmaceutical companies who are the billion-dollar makers, which is fine. I believe in pharmaceuticals. They're important for the body's healing. But they are making so much money, but they can push a vaccine where the government takes a cut from, and then the government controls the media, and then the media brainwashes us, and then we're all just following suit. Like we just listen to what they say. There's no healthy debate about what's going on. And when somebody does give a healthy option or a debate and who is knowledgeable in the field, they just shut him down. They just shut them down.
Yeah, I feel it's become population control, Simon. Especially it's hit the acting industry hard too.
Artists are screwed.
Do you guys have to have a COVID test before you go on set, or how's it working now?
Well, I don't mind getting a COVID test, but the PCR tests are so unreliable. They're just not. How does a PCR test that we were getting before test the COVID in the beginning, and now they know what the Delta strain is? How do you know that you've got Delta or Alpha?
Don't know.
With a PCR test, there's no. And how do you know that you're not getting a false positive or false negative with the test? You just don't know. It's a virus. Well, what is it testing? Testing what? Viruses? It could be any virus. You just don't know. The tests are, and if you get 100,000 tests, of course they're going to bump up the numbers. As compared to 20,000 tests, you'll get two or three cases. If you got 100,000 tests, from 20,000 tests, just do the math. You're going to get more. It's just going to push up numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, artists are screwed anyway because they can't go to the theater, they can't go to the movies. On set, you'll be forced to get a vaccination if you're not vaccinated, which is wrong because that's freedom of choice and invasion of medical privacy, which is your choice of what you want to get put into your body.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you understand, if you're on, say, blood thinners like anticoagulants, you can't get a vaccine. Did people tell you that?
No.
Some people are on warfarin or anticoagulants, for their heart, which is long term. They're not allowed to get the vaccine because there's an interaction with it, that vaccine. So they've got to go on something else. What is that else going to be? They're going to have to develop a COVID pill.
Mm.
And that COVID pill, I guarantee you, would be ivermectin. And they,
As a chiropractor, do you have to get vaccines, Simon?
No. Look, my kids are unvaccinated. They're both 16 and 12,
mm-hmm.
and they've been unvaccinated from day one. I got vaccinated, young, but I was, not knowledgeable at the time about it. And there I go and get vaccinated for the Hep A and B shots, and then I got sick. I got an autoimmune condition from that later down the track, and since then I never got it vaccinated, and I had to build my immune system back up to a healthy state to, get it healthy again. So. But my kids, they haven't been vaccinated and they've never been sick. They get the common cold and flu and they're over it within 2-3 days,
If you get a common cold now, that society's getting paranoid that they think you got COVID-19.
That's right.
And that's pissing me off, Simon.
Well, that's right. It's just because, the symptoms are very similar. The COVID symptoms is very similar to flu-like symptoms. And a very strong flu can cause pneumonia. And so does COVID. COVID can cause pneumonia, and then also other things like heart disease and blood clots and things like that. But, as I said, there are drugs there that can treat it and prevent it from getting to that stage. And they're novel drugs, inexpensive drugs, so you don't need a vaccine. If you did need a vaccine, then I'd be all for the vaccine, right? But the problem is that with this, you don't need one. And it's not, they call it a pandemic. I mean, the Spanish flu and the Black Plague, they were pandemics. They wiped out populations all over the place. This is not wiping out people. This is like trying to slow, the influx of people going into hospital, because if they all got it at once, the hospital system would be overwhelmed. But you can prevent that as well. Like I said, we're taking novel drugs like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, azithromycin, minocycline, doxycycline. These are all antivirals and antibiotics that trusted and do work. And there's papers that have been researched left, right, and center since this whole thing has happened, and they're not paying attention. To me, I just think that's, that's criminal, to be honest.
It's population control, Simon. They just want to scare, especially elderly people too. And there's this COVID scam going around where they're prank calling people saying, "Oh, you've tested positive," and it's like a robot voice. I'm fed up.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That'd be really bad. I mean, that's just unethical to do something like that.
But with acting, what struggles have you had with auditions and knockbacks? What's been your story?
Well, my acting career, really was, actors can take different approaches to how they want to, to bring out their craft. There's not one method that says it's right, I believe. I think that, it's interesting if you have different types of methods that actors take on board to create a character, it makes the ensemble more interesting. So you might have someone who's doing just line reading and learning lines and wants to just read whatever it is, and play themselves. And then there are others who want to fall into the character, research the character and become the character and let it just happen naturally. And then you've got people who are method actors who want to take time and transform their bodies and all that. No way is wrong or right. It's just an approach. But the key thing about all of those different methods that people take on board to create that character is whether the audiences or yourself are feeling that the character that you're creating is authentic and real and true, and actually, I know that person, I've seen that person, I relate to that person. But when something is not performed very well, you go, that person didn't actually do their work to get that character to life, or they're just something about their technique that's just not creating a natural evolution of who the character is. I worked on George's second film, the combination Redemption. I played the dad in that, of the female lead. Both George and David, they're very dynamic creators, content creators. But I loved the first combination, the number one that they did. To me, that was kind of a really, really great piece of work. Just in regards to performance, direction, storytelling. It had a main story. Then it had the subplot of the story as well, which was interesting. And both of them kind of came together in one line. So, and then there was a newcomer there that I found really powerful on screen, Ali Hader, who was in that film. To me, he was he played himself, they said. Well, he didn't have any acting training or, and he was a big standout to me in that movie because, he was someone that I'd seen before on the streets, could, understand. Having said that, my breaks came with Anusha Zarkesh, the casting director, who cast me when I came back for Alex and Eve, and Peter Androukidis is the director as well. They were pretty much instrumental in me getting kind of work from the beginning when I started in 2011 again until now, after getting work and then people seeing what I could do, then the work came after. But those two, were really, supportive of me in many things.
Have you
ever still are.
Had discrimination as in this industry?
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you an example. I remember in the 90s when I went to get an agent, I had an interview and he said, look, mate, I'm not going to be able to get you anything. You're a wog.
Oh, that's fucked up.
I said, what do you mean? I'm not going to be able to get you. I'm a wog. What do you mean by that? I said. He said, well, don't take offense, he said, it doesn't matter, wog's not a dirty word.
And he said that to you?
Yeah. Because the movies like Wog Boy and Wog this and Wog that, they all thought that that's who we are. We're all wogs, and wog's not a dirty word, it's not offensive. It's not, that's not saying, that's not discriminating, that's not racist, And in some ways, they're right. You've got to have this. There's a sense of humor in things that you can bring up. But in that context where it was said, I just felt offended, and I thought, well, hang on, I've got the makings of being an actor. I've trained and I know the craft. That's because of the color of my skin, and and I even could speak like you. I was born here, but I do know another language, and I'm fluent in Arabic, and I can speak Arabic, and I can do all various types of accents because of the training. Just because I look this way, you're saying that you can't do much for me, but that was the time. That's how it was. And I was very, very surprised as time went on when I gave it up, that there was so many voices coming out of, the whole racist discrimination, diversity, etc. And then things started to change, like within overnight. Like then everybody was getting a casting call, but still it's still the same. It still has not changed, I have to say. It's all sort of periphery talk, and then when you really get to the crux of the casting and the roles, you're still given the people that were there in the beginning are still given priority over the people that have come. They're coming after, and that means the ones that are diverse actors like myself, and coloured actors, and Asian, Hispanic, and all those types of backgrounds. So in America it's different. Like they'll cast a lead guy in a black rock in a film, but that's always been like that in America. Denzel Washington has always played lead roles, and they haven't.
The combination. I was talking to George on the podcast. He said that movie was banned in Maryland cinemas.
Yeah, so that to me was deliberate. It was doing very well in the box office, and it was making a lot of money. It was like the #1 film at the time, and a lot of people were going and loving it, and seeing it on the big screen, because it would have been amazing on the big screen. With the sound, the music, the whole thing, and yeah, just because of a little bit of a tiff between some, Arab Australians going there and just acting, sort of like heroes a little bit with each other. The event cinemas took it down from their screenings, and it just ruined the whole film, and it possibly ruined the chance of all the films that could have come after that because of the success of that film. Like all the stories that were written on any migrant type story that's either Lebanese, Italian, Greek, or whatever. There would have been hundreds of types of those stories that could have been told, and they knew that would have done well at the box office. And all those stories would have probably just been smashed because of that one stupid incident in the box office there. And at the time, I think it was, what cinema was it called? It wasn't Event. It was Greater Union or something. Yeah, it was there, yeah.
There's been a good movie called Convict as well. That was something.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Convict, to be honest. I just thought that it wasn't my cup of tea, that film. I think some of the things in those scenes broke down. But everyone has an opinion. I mean, but he had a huge following for that movie. But it just wasn't my kind of film. I just didn't like it. I did like the Accommodation Redemption. I actually liked it a lot, but not as much as the first one.
Yeah, I've got to check out the Combination Redemption. Are you working on any movies at the moment, Simon?
Yeah, well, not now. All my work's just all been tanked because of this lockdown. The last thing I did was just a small role on the TV series Total Control,
Mm-hmm.
with Deborah Mailman and the Rachel Griffiths one. Before then, I did The Unknown Man with Thomas Wright, the director, who did what was that first film he did? It was a really brilliant film. Oh, I can't believe that. Block in my head. Yeah, well, he did this, amazing first film about this artist who, if you look up Thomas Wright, you'll see the first film he made. I just forgot the title for some reason. And another one I did, which was a Hollywood type film in the Gold Coast. That's called Black Site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question. What's honesty, integrity mean for you in this industry?
Oh, look, when you're working with people in the job that you've got, there's a lot of honesty and integrity. Mm-hmm. But then outside of that, if you're not working and you're looking from the outside in, there's not much at all. No, a lot of it, to do with also, is the person suitable to tell the story? Is the person the right character to play the role? Is this the right director to direct the film? Is the writing good? It's not really, you can't have much honesty and integrity with a person when you're actually dedicated to telling the story the best you can. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be some, I'll hire you, then fire you. I don't want you now because I think the story needs to go this way now. You're the wrong actor because we thought you were the right one, but now you're the wrong one. So, and then people take that personally. And what needs to happen is there needs to be a bit of, resilience and an understanding of the word rejection, because you're going to get rejected more times than you're going to get hired in anything. And it's got nothing to do with your ability as an artist, how, in regards to you being a writer, a director, or an actor. It's got everything to do with you're just not suitable for that person's way of storytelling. Fred Shepsey is a different story to Bruce Beresford. They tell stories differently. If you watch their films, the way they tell their stories is completely different. And both are very good directors, Australian directors, Now, they might hire the same actors who can work the same way as them, but then an actor gets a name too, see, and they're well known in the community and audiences. And so they hire them to get the box office, the money back in the box office, because Brian Brown was leading role in this film. Well, everybody loves Brian Brown and loves his work and the way he does things. So he's a sure thing. So the director then will have to work the way Brian Brown comes on set. But if you get an unknown, the director has that ability to kind of mold what he wants to tell in the story, on the American context, if you look at Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, when they first started, Martin Scorsese got De Niro to work on The Taxi Driver because he worked with him on Mean Streets and saw things about what he could do on Mean Streets to then say, I want De Niro for this role, because they've got a great combination of understanding each other and knowing what they want to show in an actor-director relationship and what they want to see. So Scorsese works what De Niro wants. So De Niro wants to create the character, He wants to go and research and to take time and transform his body, transform this, and then come on set. And then he's And all Scorsese does is put the camera where he wants it to go, and his performance is perfect or authentic. Whereas you can get an actor where the director controls it all, and then you have to go with what the director says, and the actor's just like a prop, you know, on set. And so he stand there, say this, do it like that. This is how you say the words. I want you to say it like this. That's another way of getting a performance. But to me, I reckon the best way to get a performance is the actor creates the character, brings it on set, brings the authenticity of that character on set, plays the scene with the other characters, and the director just watches and then uses his genius to put the camera where that, or the DOP puts the camera where to get the best performance out of those characters. But that takes time, rehearsal, and all that. And some productions don't have that. They don't have all that time to do that sort of stuff.
You know, Harvey Weinstein in Hollywood, he's done some very bad stuff, you know, and have you known directors taking advantage of actors just to get the role?
You know, it's really sad what happened to Harvey Weinstein. It's he was a narcissistic kind of predator on women, very kind of domineering, controlling, and really abused women, which was sad and very tragic because nobody deserves that in life, you know. But what's weird is that every time you watch a movie now, you know, because a lot of my favorite films I watch over and over, and then I see the word Miramax, you know, at the beginning of the film, and I just go, oh my God, this film is so brilliant. You had the genius of understanding that I wanted to make this film, and you go and pray and do shit like that to women. I mean, what the fuck? And it's just such a contradiction in behavior, which really gets you disheartened with the industry in itself, because he's not the only one that's done that shit. So many predator-like men on sets have done that with women. And it's great women are coming out, because there's got to be a sense of equality in any job that you have, being male or female. But it's very sad because, you know, he was the one that, you know, created a lot of amazing films that are still today quite relevant, you know, in the landscape. But, you know, now he's rotting in a jail. Who knows what's going to happen to him now? All over stupidity and exploitation and greed and lust and all the bad things that happen.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino, I think, was working with him, and I think they all knew that shit was going on.
Yeah, they all knew. That's the thing. They all knew, and if they spoke up, they would get vilified and marginalized back then, because there was a story, it was a documentary, Boondock Saints. I don't know if you know about the movie Boondock Saints.
No.
The guy who wrote that film was a first-time feature writer, and he presented it to the Weinsteins, and, you know, he just had this idea that he wanted to do this, wanted to do that, and he kind of put Harvey Weinstein in his spot. And Harvey came back at him, you'll never work in this industry again. And he never did. He killed his career. But Mark Wahlberg and all those people were going to work on that movie. And then he got completely, you know, because he spoke up against him, you know, at the time, Weinstein. And this is what it is. He'd probably be now seen as a great guy. But back then he was the prick of pricks, because he spoke up to Harvey Weinstein and nobody wanted to work with him anymore, you know, because he had an ego and an attitude as well. this guy who wrote this film, Boondocks 8. Anyway, they ended up taking the Boondocks 8 script and making it with other people, and he never got credited for it, you know. But so many people knew about him. So many. I mean, think about it. How many people worked on his bloody movies?
A lot.
So many.
Yeah.
A lot of people worked on his movie. And a lot of people would have known that he would have been doing shit like that. Why not come forward then and some did, to be honest, and they got vilified and marginalized. I mean, Courtney Cox yells out, you know, don't go to the Weinstein party. Everyone knew that, you know. She knew that. But she seemed to not get much work after that too. So if you speak up about something that you think is wrong, you do get marginalized and vilified, and then probably won't be able to work again. So a lot of them didn't say nothing, just shut their mouths. But Brad Pitt apparently, you know, because he had some clout and power in Hollywood, he fronted up to him and told him off, don't fucking touch her again or say anything to her again, you know. And if you do off whatever, you know, and he backed off. But because Brad Pitt is Brad Pitt, he's got his own film company. He's got the same power. It's all about bloody power and control at the end of the day. Who's in power? It has nothing to do with your creative juices. I mean, in some cases it will be, you know, and you will be able to thrive and do great work because you've got that team of people who are around you that are like-minded like that and wanting to all achieve the same thing. And that is all, a lot of it's to do with the inception of things. So the Scorsese De Niro relationship started off in the inception of things. That's why it went on for a while after that. You know, you would say the same with Spielberg and the guy he uses, the guy from Jaws, I forgot his name, but he's used him a few times, especially that he liked his work as an actor. So then when you build that relationship with people, you then are able to create great work and great, you can discuss it because you won't get no one will get offended if you say something that you think is not right or wrong because you know each other to the core as people. You know what I mean? You can talk things too. It's not like you're coming on set for the first time, meeting someone and you have to figure them out and you have to work the way they work or they've got to work the way you work. And then, you know, sometimes you just clash and you don't get on and then the work just ends up being like shit, you know? And
have you ever had fights on set, Simon? Or had disagreements?
No. I tend to just come in quite passively in situations where I haven't built a relationship with a person very well. I just come in passively. I've got ideas and of what I want to achieve with the character. And then as I talk to the person that's actually directing or writing or producing, then they come and talk to me. And then we just, if they're willing and able to negotiate things, then most of the times they are because of your personality of who you are and you're easily to work with, you're comfortable with them, then you can be malleable and go their way a bit and come to an agreement and you find something and yeah, it ends up working. A lot of the time, directors and writers, when they get you on set, they already know what you can do and they just trust what you can do and they don't say anything to you, you know, so then you're able to do anything you want. Sometimes you've got directors and writers and then you just got to be humble and in the way you approach things.
Have you ever had a director who's been a prick in your life?
Oh, there's a lot of them around. Yeah.
How do you cope with that? Or what do you do?
I just go silent. I don't say anything. I just think they're stressed probably. They probably are pissed off with how the production is going. They're just got an angst about something, and it's not necessarily you what you're doing, but they're just like that. That's their personality, and you just got to just be silent and just do the job and then leave. Yeah.
Have you ever been told?
That's very rare that happens, to be honest, because if it does happen, it's only when you see a director being like that, you're only on set a small amount of the time. I'd hate to see if you're on a long TV series where a director was like that and they have to work with them every day. You wouldn't be able to tolerate it.
No.
There would have to be something happen. There'd be some sort of change that would have to occur with the whole thing, or you'd have to have a sit-down roundtable with a mediator to discuss how they can progress further to finish the series or the film.
Yeah, stress as well, Simon, can do that, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it was a fantastic episode with you today. Where can people find you on social media or reach out to you?
I'm not very big on social media, but my name's on social media. I've got, I'm just Simon Elrahi. I don't have much of a following, or I don't go on there much and post. But sometimes when people want to tag you for a film, you want to help promote their film, get their film seen by an audience, and I'm happy to help that go along the ride. There's a couple of new films that are coming out that will be a good watch. Jenna Chanel Hayes' new film McConey has just got into Sign Oz Fest, I think it's called, and Nick Wright and Nathan Bender's film The Face, which I'm both in those films, and The Face has just got accepted in Arizona at the Wild Bunch Film Festival, which is a specific Western genre film festival, which is a good film to watch as well if you can get a chance to see those two films.